Hello,
Hello?
Santos Bonacci, you there?
Yep.
How you doing? Glad to be speaking to you, and I'm glad you're out of not in the slammer anymore. By the way, I seem to recall you saying on your Vinny Eastwood show that you would need like 2 hours to like talk about that in great detail. Is that really true?
About what? The my incident.
Yeah, like the whole contempt of court charge thing and how it was fraudulent and all that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could take years. I mean, it's yeah,
Hmm.
hours.
Okay, I often like giving people the chance on my show whenever they've been hassled and harassed by the powers that be to give their side of the story as to what exactly happened. But before I give you the chance to do that, I guess we should start this interview off, this pre-record off, just to set this tone in regards to what you do, and then I guess I'll ad lib from there. Probably start with law first. Really want to get into that, and of course I'll give you the chance then to talk about what your experience was. Just a quick summary though. But in regards to syncretism, you try to combine a lot of things in syncretism. But the thing is, there seems to be a limited number of things that you would talk about in syncretism based on the titles of the presentations, all the presentations you've done. I've watched all of them, by the way, on Mr. Astrotheology, your YouTube channel. Certain things like body salts and astrology, theology, occult science, and a few other things seem to be and law too, seem to make up the crux of what syncretism is all about. So, how is it that you could try to combine many things in syncretism, but yet you seem to limit yourself to the amount of overall things that you would discuss in syncretism? Please elaborate on what it is and how it works that way.
Okay. Oh, are we are we starting now? Or?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely, definitely. Let's start now. I usually do a news segment with my uh, shows, but I'm not going to do that because this is a pre-record. I'll try to get it on the air tomorrow, sometime in the evening hours here in the States. You there, Santos?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you heard my question, didn't you?
Oh, okay. Sorry, brother. I was waiting for a. I thought you were going to introduce the show.
Oh no, that's not really necessary when it's a pre-record. That's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
because you're going to go along and edit it. I get you. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Sorry.
It's all right. So syncretism. Tell us what it's all about, and how you limit yourself on the amount of subjects you talk about, but yet try to combine multiple things in it in syncretism. It seems like a little bit of a paradox there.
Yeah, well, syncretism is the science of being able to merge and sync all sciences and all known fields of wisdom and learning that we have uh, as a race or as a kind. Mankind is better than the human race, I believe. And so we have all of these great institutions of theological and transcendental science. Um, we know them as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism. And so syncretism shows that these are the same teachings, exactly the same teachings are in these books, all of them. And they all point to the one creator, and they all honor that one, and they are separate languages, really, like any other language. And so they are ways of understanding the creator of light. And so syncretism also does that with other secular sciences, not just the mystical and transcendental, but all the sciences, and it merges them in a oneness where we can know all things through syncretism. And syncretism is enabled by the sine wave or the ecliptic of the sun. The sine wave, the wave of electrical force or mind thinking, is the wave that permeates the whole universe. It's a thought wave universe, and all those waves are doing the same thing in terms of vibrating, in terms of vibration, radiation, in terms of completing a 360-degree circle, same word. And as these waves permeate the universe and create the universe, they are always proceeding from 0 point. And that's the horizontal line of the sine wave, where sine begins. Cosine would be at the wave amplitude. And in the example of the ecliptic of the sun, that would be the Tropic of Cancer at the top and the Tropic of Capricorn at the bottom. And so all waves are doing this, and that's why astrology is such a universal science. It describes how light creates the beautiful material / physical world that we see. It is created by light and sound. These are two of the main electricities that produce the material world. And so everything is explainable through it, and we don't, there's no need for division. Syncing is the opposite of division. So rather than seeing your church or your specialization of science as unique and separate from the others, we can all lose that. It's non-existent, that short-sighted view of all the sciences. And so hopefully syncretism can bring about the benefits of this, and that would be unity. Syncing is unity, division is duality and beyond.
Thank you, Santos. Just so you know, I'm going to have my microphone on mute whenever you're talking. And first subject of many things that can be syncretized, so to speak, I guess we'll start with law. And before I let you talk about your personal experiences somewhat, I'd like to start off with about what kind of law is imposed on us here on planet Earth. It has been said that all around the world in every nation, the courts utilize maritime admiralty commercial law. And what exactly are they doing in the courts? Now, this is somewhat debatable. I have heard you talk about many times that there is a birth certificate straw man, and that when you're born, they create a birth certificate of you, which is a legal fiction. It turns you into a corporation, and I've heard also that they're treating you as though you are dead, because corporation comes from the word corpse, same root, and also on gravestones, the letters are all in capital letters, and that symbolizes death. So in that sense, it's a death certificate, and when you go to court, you are representing your birth certificate and not yourself. You are acting as an artificial person, even though in reality you're a natural person. Now, I have no doubt that that's true, but the problem is many would assert that, and even I would assert to some degree, that that whole thing, even though it's true and all, it's not really something you so much need to be aware of, because it's a lot more easier to understand what they're doing at a more basic level and how to fight it at that basic level. At a more basic level, and you can prove this through the statutes and codes of pretty much everywhere, that all codified and statutory crimes are commercial. And whenever the courts allege that you're going to say that you got to go to court for some sort of infraction, what they are doing is they are alleging that you committed some sort of an infraction while acting in a commercial capacity. And governments have some regulatory authority over commerce by virtue of the fact that where there's commerce, there's a contract, and where there's law, there's a contract. So there has to be some sort of a third party to act and lay down the law in the event of a breach of contract. And it was decided decided by the people, that the courts would act as that neutral arbiter. So knowing that, it has been said that one of the basic simple ways of how to win in court, you don't have to know any of that birth certificate strawman stuff. What you have to know is what you should say when you go to court. Now, I listen to Eddie Craig of Rule of Law Radio, very popular down here in the States, especially in his home state of Texas. He has he has said that when you go to court, you should always say these two things. First is, I am here by special appearance to challenge this jurisdiction of this court in all respects. And the second thing is, I move the court that all proceedings be on the record without exception. However, I've also seen in the a documentary, Climatica, I think it was, that when you go to court, you should also say that you're a natural person and not acting as an artificial person, that you do not have a first or last name, and you ask the court to take the judicial notice of the honorable judge, whatever the judge's name is, oath of office, and you also state to the court and jury that the judge, you ask for him to act as a judge and not as a banker. Eddie Craig of Rule of Law Radio says, no, you don't have to say any of that, just the two things he says. And also in regards to how to win in court, the way to win is simply object to the commercial nexus, and whenever they utter a word that has a legal definition that's commercial specific, sorry for taking so long here, but I just want to really get it down here in this one. First quick explanation here before I give you the floor. The way you fight in court is you listen for the commercial nexus, the commercial word, term, what that has a legal definition that is commercial specific, and you would object by saying objection to the use of the term, whatever the term is. They assume, or it assumes, facts not in evidence, not previously agreed to, and requires a legal conclusion by the fact witness. And you wouldn't say by the fact witness unless it was like the arresting officer or someone who was there witnessing the crime. And if you do that, then you should win, because you're asking them to prove that they are that you weren't. They have to prove that you're in commerce, and they're not proving that. They're presuming that. And they don't go about proving it, so the way to fight it is the objection. So with all that being said, I've babbled long enough. Do we really have to understand and know about the birth certificate strawman thing? Or do you think, no, maybe the way I've explained it and some of the other people I follow have explained it is just a simple, basic, good way of winning in court whenever you're being asked to go to court?
Yeah, well, you could ask if there's a living man that has a claim against you, because if you've broken a law and you've hurt someone, where's the injured living man? That's really natural law. Why should you worry about learning codes and commercial statutes and all of these that are just basically administration law, because of the War Powers Act and martial law? So you guys would be under military rule and martial law, as we are in this country. And I believe Australia signed on to this in 47 by treaty with your country, yes, country. Sorry, I was going to say nation. Yeah, nation is de jure. Countries are the commercial de facto Vatican system since 1871. So unless you've injured a living man or a woman who can come forward with a claim, not a complaint, there's no case. So it's best to keep it simple. I myself have gotten myself into trouble. I've never really had any success in court, probably due to my belligerence and I guess you'd have to stick to one simple way of proceeding if you're ever dragged into court. And probably I corrupt and pollute the how can I put it, to the modes of acting. You've got to keep it simple. So that also gets you into trouble. But that would be one way, and probably the finest way. Where is the man or woman that I have injured or caused harm to, rather? There's a difference between those two expressions. But yes, obviously they don't have a contract. So even in commercial law, you could ask, well, may I see the contract, please? Or there would be a way of of bringing that issue into the court. And probably the best way would be to ask questions. Asking questions in their way of thinking is honourable, you see. It doesn't bring you into contempt. It doesn't bring you into belligerence, because, of course, there's an undertone of military, of martial law in the administrative courts. So, and that means that it's war, and we are hostile if we don't, submit in that jurisdiction. That's how you are presumed. It's just the presumption, the order of the day. But then there are other layers, and the bottommost layer would be the ecclesiastical. It is definitely an inquisition. It can only happen via the Inquisition. The Inquisition is the basis of all the other laws above it: commercial, bankruptcy, admiralty, maritime, equity, common law. Basically, it's all. If it's not God's law, it's all of those. And I mean, some of those are better than others. A lot of people have great success in courts with common law or equity. But, God's law would be the one. If we turn our backs on God's law, then we have no savior. That's why the Inquisition is alive and active and well, because they are in the salvage business. And so underlying all these other laws and forms of law is the fact that these people are considered heretics. And heretics are allowed to be harvested for their energy because they do not surrender to their Jesus, their Christ, you see, of their papal bulls and of the donation of Constantine. And so that is the fundamental basis of the whole system. These papal bulls. This is where all the other I guess you could call it financial instruments and structure in law come from. But then there's another layer, and that is bankruptcy and commercial law. So in this system, you are a debtor rather than a creditor, and so you're presumed to be you're in debt. Well, you have a debt to pay, and that is on the commercial side, the de facto side. It's not the de jure debt, because on that side we are creditors. Well, we have to be, because that's where the debt is coming from, really. Let me fix this guy. He's trying to wake me up.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Okay, thank you. And well, I'm glad I admire you being honest, saying I haven't had much success in court. It's amazing you actually admit that. Well, hey, you're my guest. Say what you want. But in regards to how can we win in court, I'd like to, once again, I'm going to have to babble for just a couple minutes here. I say babble, but anyway, it's good for entertainment purposes. I'm sure you're familiar with the work of the One People's Public Trust and what they try to do. And I once called into the Rule of Law radio show, and it was Eddie Craig's co-host, Randy Kelton, who was the host that day. And I asked him, Randy, have you ever heard of the organization known as the One People's Public Trust? And he said he had not. So then I told him what the One People's Public Trust had done. They had foreclosed on all the governments, the banks, and everything. And even though it wasn't technically a lien, as Winston Trout explained, it did have a lien provision in it, their documents. So someone make the case that they were filing a lien when they were foreclosing. And the crux of their argument was, among other things, the governments or corporations, the banks, no debt was ever made because the loans they gave out weren't backed by anything. And also the states of people and the rights that we have were all granted by the creator. They use the creator. I prefer to use the phrase infinite consciousness, but they use the word the creator. And lawfully speaking, there can be no being higher in authority than the creator except the one people's, I said, there can nobody be higher than the one people's public trust except the creator. And at that point, Randy Kelton interrupted me and said, whoa, 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 I'm sorry, dude, I see where this is going. We've been down this road before. It always ends in disaster. If I don't shut you up right now, some ignorant gullible sap will subscribe to this garbage you're peddling, and you and me are going to be getting death threats from some really angry people because they or someone they know ended up in a human cage behind bars for a while. He said, first of all, you cannot invoke God as a defense in any court at any trial. And second of all, he said, when you go to court, you are dealing with some of the worst scum of the worst scum of the worst scum you will ever meet, and they don't give a damn about your rights. They just want to make money off of you. And many people who try to file these really big liens, like for things like transportation and how transportation laws only apply to those who are using the roads for commerce, and file liens for that, they often get charged with some crime as retaliation for that. And they, well, as Randy said, the best case scenario, they find out you may be able to beat the time, but you will not be able to beat the ride. And he said, if you want to have any chance of beating these jackasses in court, you have to use their own laws to beat them. You have to act like the statutes apply. You have to act like the codes apply, because all the checks and balances that you need to defeat these jackasses are in the statutes and codes. And even the case law, the judges, even though they are corrupt and don't care about us, the judges also have to decide the cases in such a way that acts as a check and balance so they can keep their friends in line, because these guys, there's a lot of infighting. They hate each other as much as they hate us, and they need to make strict laws to keep themselves in line. And that, Randy asserts, is why we should act like the statutes and codes and other administrative laws apply. And Randy has even said that they are doing things to keep us from trying to use the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC. He says there's a lot of checks and balances in that thing that you can use to win your case and have the politics on your side to win the case. And he says that there are some things that they're doing to try to keep us from studying the Uniform Commercial Code. So the strategy of using their own laws to beat them black and blue, because their own laws will create a system of checks and balances. Do you agree or disagree that that may be the way to go about it?
Well, look, I don't really know, because I've got many, many friends around me that are doing that and apparently succeeding. Whereas, as Randy said, you you can get yourself into trouble when you invoke certain laws that they don't respect, because they're just running a little dirty business of money changing. So there's no respect in money changing. It's criminal. They truly are people trafficking and committing grievous harm on individuals. When I was on the inside there for 7 weeks, I saw the harm that was being done to lots of beautiful people in prison. Some for traffic offences, some for this, that, and the other little victimless so-called crimes. And there were suicides every day in the prisons, and there was harm being done by virtue of intimidation and scarcities and all kinds of very sad conditions in prison. And do you think any of these administrative so-called judges care? Do you think they care anything at all? They're lining their pockets with money that comes from these people's so-called trusts. You see, there is the nation is the de jure nation is takes care of creating a special fund for each native of the nation, and this is a unlimited drawing fund, which is supposed to look after all of the nationals of the nation, whereas the citizen they don't have access to that because that's what the money changers are doing. They have access to those funds, the special funds, whereas they've created a public trust and shifted all the citizens over into that. And so what is happening is they're changing money. It's different. It's a from private to public, or from de jure to de facto, and they run that system, the debt system. You see, they're collectors, they're debt collectors. It's a receivership, and so they've come in to administer that, and we have been chattelized and made part of this, and so. Yeah, I tend to agree with your friend Randy there. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, it often does work. His method, I will admit. But by the way, I mentioned earlier that words have legal definitions that are commercial specific. I remember in that video being shot of you when you were arrested for, or kidnapped, I should say, for not paying tolls, which you have every right to refuse to pay. You have the right to travel on the roads for non-commercial purposes. As long as you're not being negligent and recklessly endangering anyone, then they have no authority to charge you with a crime, as all those speed limit stop signs and toll roads also only, well, actually, toll roads don't even apply to commercial drivers. It can't be illegal to not pay money you never owe. So even those in commerce don't actually have to pay tolls because they're not owing any money there. But you did say outside the court that that well, you mentioned how words have legal definitions that are commercial specific, like you said, driving, that's commercial, but traveling is not. I do seem to recall you saying marijuana has a legal definition that's commercial specific, but the word cannabis does not. You use cannabis, you're just doing something as a matter of common right, as long as you're not under the influence of cannabis and not harming anyone while under the influence. There's no crime. But marijuana, what they charge you with possession of marijuana, that you claim that's commercial, and also here in the States, if you study the laws, I don't know if it's the same in all countries, but here in the States, they would charge you with, when they catch you with drugs, where you're not selling or anything, they would, in commerce, they would charge you with transportation and distribution across either state lines or within the states. And that transportation and distribution, that's commercial. But the thing about the word marijuana being commercial, one would think that, okay, if you want to object to that and you want to fight that, you would say in court, when they raise that word, you would say objection to the use of the term marijuana. It assumes facts not in evidence, not previously agreed to, and requires a legal conclusion by the fact witness. Am I right there? And if I am, or if you are right too, where is the proof? Where can you provide proof that the word marijuana has a commercial specific legal definition?
Yeah, look, I believe it was coined and created in the early part of the 19th century. I may be wrong, but I believe they were the oil industry and the Rockefellers may have been behind it. And hemp and cannabis were the two designations for this plant, I believe. And so they gave it this legal terminology, and because the intent was to ban this the plant for its well, has almost unlimited applications. It's the most versatile plant in terms of what it can produce and offer on the planet. And so they wanted to limit that and the use of it or anything to do with it for medicinal purposes or for anything. This is how cruel and evil the intent is behind all of this. It's merely for profit. And so, yeah, I believe that you can object to certain words that have legal meanings and that wouldn't, mean much else otherwise other than in that setting. So I guess you can object to that and have asked for a clarification as to what they mean by that word.
Well, I just thought I'd point that out for all the pot smokers that find it ridiculous that they're being charged for possession of that plant. Although, let me make it clear, don't smoke too much pot, folks, or you're not going to remember your dreams. A lot of people I've heard say, I don't remember my dreams, and I toss them, you're smoking too much pot. And they were like, well, I do smoke often, like at night. And I'm like, well, that's the problem. You may have to cut back on your pot smoking to remember your dreams more. Maybe we'll talk about that later on. But right now, I want to get into what happened to you being in jail for like in like a cage. You use the word cage on the Vin Eastwood show for like 70 days or whatever because of a contempt of court charge. And now my understanding is the judge that issued this warrant for your arrest claimed that you and some other people you were communicating with were engaging in some sort of a vicious smear campaign against the judge who was trying to convict people for growing marijuana. Well, they say marijuana, but growing cannabis, I should say. And well, is that true? I remember you saying it was a bogus warrant, and if it was a bogus warrant, I'm also interested in knowing, and Dean Clifford fans would probably be interested in knowing, hearing about this too, since he was in jail for like 16 months, and I know you follow his work. Is there any way that you could have gotten, and you and Dean Clifford could have gotten, filed some sort of a motion to get you released from the human cage cell? And if there wasn't, well, why wasn't there when they were clearly what they were doing to you guys was a total violation of due process? Tell us about that experience, what that was all about, and why you were not, you and Dean Clifford for that matter, could not get out for the things that you were locked up for.
Well, look, I just wish I knew more about the process so that I could have, handled things differently. Um, I guess it all boils down to whether they had been there had been any individual that was harmed or injured, and that will have to be the thing that will settle the matter in the end of days. And so when people bring other people to court, it's a very serious responsibility. It's a very serious thing, and you can do harm to those individuals. So, yes, I was active in speaking against the people trafficking that's going on in the corrupt elements of the so-called judiciary. And that is undeniable, So whether that was cause enough for one to be in contempt of court, that will have to be settled one day in the high, high heavens, because I probably don't have any will to, prosecute that matter at all. But obviously, people with good sense know that there's a lot more going on with situations like mine and Dean's. I mean, we are, we're vocal about change and good change for love of humanity and for love of all, really, of course. And so the system does not like this. It doesn't like people standing up and seeing things differently, a better way, perhaps. And I'm not the first one who's been to jail in this world for similar things. We've got many, many examples. The list goes on. John Lennon was whacked because you can't talk about peace when those petrodollars need to be circulated and you need war. And so, this is what a commercial court called the Supreme Court of Victoria sentenced the person that they have in their books. They believe that I am the surety for that person, and they committed a commercial transaction of securities. And so this is the question that has to be asked eventually at the throne of judgment: is was there any money changing going on under the table? And you'll find that, yes, there was. So there's other motives too. Dean Clifford would have made millions and millions of dollars whilst being warehoused in their, security cages. And it's shameful. It's people trafficking, and that's the only thing that, not the only thing, but that's what I was against and am against and always will be. For no man can enslave another man by any process, whether it be commercial or anything other than, if there is an injured party and then an injured, or should I say an injured man or woman. Party can refer to property and animals, I guess, but even that is lawfully prosecutable, and compensation should be made. So we should always be ready to make that compensation, I guess, if we know that we've done some harm. So this. Well, I'll leave that, I guess.
Thanks, Santos. And since you mentioned you don't really have any intention to prosecute, I can't resist asking you this. I mean, people have different views on this issue. Your friend from down, I don't know if he's your friend, I don't know if you know him personally, but someone else from down under that I follow very personally, George Kavasilis, he has once said, I do not want to seek justice because to me justice is glorified revenge. However, other people have the point of view of justice is something you should always find. You got to saddle up your boys. You got to draw a hard line, and that's actually a direct quote from the theme song that Eddie Craig, who I mentioned earlier, plays before he hosts Rule of Law Radio. And he's actually he really believes in justice. One evidence for that is his what he made a script of what you should say to the police whenever they pull you over in a traffic stop, and how you acknowledge you're not operating in commerce and how you invoke all your rights. And he actually said this script is not only designed so you can invoke your rights and beat the charges in at trial, but also so in the event that the police bash out your car window and haul you off to jail, you will be able to sue the living crap out of them. So he obviously believes in justice, and I'm sure he would disagree with the idea that you should not seek justice because justice is glorified revenge. I don't mean to create a conflict among any of you folks, but Santos, I can't resist asking you, for lack of a better question, who do you agree or disagree with more?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Good question. Yeah. Well, it depends on the situation, really. Some people have caused a lot of harm, grievous harm. And they will be punished, of course, yes, eventually, in the highest of, realms. And others are ones that you can walk away from. Others, the harm that was done, served other purposes that you didn't expect. For instance, the time I did served me some benefits. I shouldn't use that word legally or in the legal sense, but I came out much more enriched as an individual, and so I feel that I know that I was protected, and that the individuals that instigated all of the harm upon me will be repaid, and the justice has been done to an extent in that I know this. I know that this is the way of the universe. So I'm content that, what goes around comes around. It will return, and sometimes pressed, shaken, and overflowing. Exponentially far, far greater than what was first dished out. And so we do have to be careful when we lash out at people and, hurt people, but by the same token, I've done the same thing. And so I look upon myself and I see that I have failings every day in fits of anger and, you know, hurling abuses sometimes at people that attack you viciously and, you know, retaliate with the same words. I mean, the aftermath of doing such a thing is equally as unpleasant, but we do. And so no one's perfect. No one can throw the first stone, but certainly some are experiencing the repercussions of their harm done to others instantly, as in the case of me, because it's not pleasant. Whereas others get away with it for a while, and then eventually it'll catch up. And so, knowing this law and knowing it perfectly, I'm good. I'm good. I don't have any real grudge unless I think of certain details of the whole event, and then I can bring up some unpleasant feelings. But you know, it'll take a while to just move forward and put it totally behind me, which I think I have anyway. I'm a pretty happy individual. Yeah, I'd come across angry sometimes, but in general, I'm pretty happy. And I know that the things that happened to me were can be seen as unlawful and wrong. Well, I look at it more philosophically these days, and I look at all the people that have been harmed inside and out of prison. And my motto is that prison is not a building. It's not a jail. It's not a building. It's a condition. It's a state of being. And some people are in prison. There were people outside of prison more in prison than me, because they have false illusions, and they have delusions and false idols, and they're suffering because of this. Things as simple as eating habits are killing them. People are killing themselves. They're killing themselves with their diet, and the consequences are acidity in the body, and hence all kinds of diseases, diabetes, and the list goes on. And so knowing this, you avoid those diseases. You never get any of these things. And so it's knowing that everyone is in jail and suffering. I think of the pensioners. They're more in jail than I ever was. And so this is what needs to be alleviated amongst our brothers in mankind. And we can do this through knowledge and sharing the truth. The truth needs to be told on all levels. We can't just be compartmentalized and specialize in one or two truths. All that issues forth from our mind and tongue must be the subject of truth, absolute truth. Well, yeah, sorry. Look, I'm very, very slow today. I've just I had not last night, but the night before, I had a totally sleepless night, and I'm quite exhausted actually, and so please forgive me.
It's all right, Santos. And I guess we'll switch gears, move to another subject, and I'm sure your fans and listeners are chomping at the bit to hear me address this subject with you, because you have certainly opened up a whole new can of worms in this issue. And I actually had a guest, coincidentally, on last week. All right, I'll give his name because people are going to find out anyway. Alex Ansary. And one of the things he said on my show was, I am sick and tired of all my friends telling me about the flat earth theory. I don't want to hear a goddamn thing about it. And then the next thing I know, I find out that you uploaded a couple videos on your YouTube YouTube channel, Mr. Astrotheology, talking about how you suddenly, all of a sudden, decided to support the flat Earth theory, and you talked about the smoking gun behind it is, don't remember what it's called, but it's that eight-shaped thing that the sun makes in its path across the sky. So this flat Earth theory, and after I give you I know maybe a little hard for you to explain because this is strictly audio, but maybe just keep it short and simple and talk about how that letter number 8 shaped thing is the smoking gun behind why you believe the flat Earth theory is true. And then after you give your quick take on this, I'm going to outline some of the things that would suggest no, you got to be wrong here, Santos and everybody else. There's some contradictions here that would suggest the rounder theory is true. So could you please give your quick take on why you have decided to subscribe to this radical new idea?
My pleasure. The Earth has always been flat in all of the cosmologies, and the cosmologies have transcendental science, which the worldly wise of this indoctrinated Jesuit-run world in all of our institutions, from kindergartens where the globe, the false idol, is placed in all of our classrooms, there has been nothing but indoctrination. And the globe only works if gravity works, and gravity is a hocus-pocus, bogus, Santa gravity concept where ocean liners full of cargo are stuck to the globe as the billions and trillions of tons of water here in Australia when the ocean liners come into the port of Melbourne. Whereas butterflies can flitter and flatter and fly by, and particles of dust and water vapor. They seem to not believe in gravity, of course. But no, gravity and the globe are the two most satanic teachings and psyopses of all time. And I'm going to debunk it and deflate it once and for all. It's hocus pocus. The Vedas teach the geocentric model, the tropical astrology which all the astrologers use is based on the geocentric model, the Ptolemaic Western system. The Egyptians knew this, the Mayans, the Buddhists, the Babylonians, and they taught that the Earth is a plane in a torus field, a massive torus field of which the sun is the king and the ruler of this. He's called the master vortex. That's the true name of the sun. And in this vortex, this toroidal field, in the center, in the earth / heart / ether, same word, is the heart, the core of the system, and it's a plane. And the reason they turned it into a globe is to make a false idol and to delude us into thinking that up is not up and down is not down. So we're all over the place. We're all hicklety-picklety, and that's why a lot of people have split. You've got your worldly intellectuals on the ball side and totally indoctrinated and buffoons. And on the right side, you have the mystical types who analyze with their intelligence. They don't suspend their intelligence, you know. They don't. They think about things. For instance, the North Pole star, the Polaris, is always there, always at the center of that dome in the heavens, the vault of the firmament. So here we are in the Tropic of Capricorn at the moment, the sign of Capricorn, and Polaris is right where it always is, and we're 93 million miles away from the sun. So as we journey 180 degrees and 180 days around this massive orbit at 67,000 miles an hour, whew, keep your comb in your back pockets, guys, while you're upside down in Australia with the butterflies flying by. Yeah. So while we're doing that, 180 days later, we come to the Tropic of Cancer. And guess where Polaris still is? Yeah, right at the North Pole. And you've travelled 186 million miles through the heavens, and Polaris is still there. Yeah, I mean, I can go on. I mean, I'll just make these ballers look like lunatics, like they've lost their marbles. They're insane, and they worship demons. This ball, globe, gravity, demonic teaching is the worship of demons. There's only two kinds of entities in the universe. There's demons and demigods, and that's what all the ancient cosmologies talk about. Demons go downward, away from Creator, Prime Source, because they are self-serving. Demigods like you and I, brother, and the listeners on this good show, have taken the heroic, as the Greeks would put it, or the Jewish, the Hebrew, as the Kabbalists would put it. But in the Eastern system, they call these the demigods, and they are going upward, for they serve the Prime Source, the Creator, who is known as Krishna, Jehovah, Allah. And they are not self-serving. And so the self-serving ones, the first thing they must do is delude you, and they create the biggest lie possible. And they are demons, they are demoniacs. It is pure, filthy idol worship, and it's idolatry, and it's disgusting to the ruler of the cosmos. Because the ruler of the cosmos has given us the map of the earth and shown us in all the cosmologies. How dare we depart from the Vedas? How dare we depart from the Holy Scriptures? It's in the Holy Scriptures. It talks about the circle of the earth, and that God dwells above the circle of, not the sphere of the earth. There's no sphere of the earth in the Bible. And as for the planets, they're not planets, they're stars, because the first question people ask is, well, what about we see round planets? No, we don't. If you're talking about those goofy cartoon CGI images that NASA, never a straight answer, are offering, well, you might as well go back to Santa Claus, okay? He's coming down your chimney. Because that's not Pluto. Why do you think they've inscribed a Walt Disney cartoon of Pluto on the CGI images of Pluto that they give you? Because they're telling you you're a bunch of idiots and you're swine eaters and you're deluded. That's why they cause us to eat swine. They themselves don't eat it, but they give you bacon and eggs for breakfast and tell you that it's sophisticated. And so this is what happens. When you eat animals, you reason like an animal, and you bow down to demon worship idols like the globe. From kindergarten to tertiary education, that globe is there. They haven't proved it. They've got no evidence of it. And yet they tell you that you're spinning around at 1,000 miles an hour at Ecuador. I've been to Ecuador. 1,000 miles an hour is much faster than the speed of sound. I remember speaking while facing my friend westwardly into his ear, and he happened to hear what I was saying, even though we were spinning faster than the speed of sound. And certainly I heard what he was saying because I was downwind of him. You know. And then, of course, you've got these smart pilots who think they're living on a globe. How do you land a plane with a north-south runway on a spinning globe, I wonder? Oh, well, gravity fixes that, like it fixes the butterflies and the ocean liners and sticks all the water around the bowl now. Oh, it's ridiculous. Truly is. Santa Claus ain't coming to town, and the Santa ball ain't coming to reality either. It's no ball. 'Tis a fine earth, but sure 'tis no ball, English.
Well, Santos, since you've pointed all that out, I got to point out the things that the spherical Earth people have to point out, and I guess I'll give them all at once. If you don't cover or try to debunk them all, I'll repeat it to you if you don't remember it. But
oh yes, I've heard it. I've heard plenty of pseudoscience. So
okay, but first of all, the idea that people thought the Earth was flat in Columbus's day is absurd, because there was a Greek from about 276 to 276 BC to 194 BC named Eratosthenes, who allegedly discovered the circumference of the Earth. That's the first thing.
Eratosthenes, not Aristophanes, whatever.
Whatever I said.
Tell right back to this guy and tell him to get his facts right.
Okay, so actually, I guess we'll do this one at a time. How was he wrong, or did that even happen? Is that a made-up story that somebody conjured up? So was
it's all hocus pocus. Of course, he did do that test. He went to Alexandria, and then he went to another city, but his presumptions were erroneous because he presumed that the sun was further away than it is. You can get the exact same results from positioning the sun 3 to 4,000 miles above the Earth. The ball concept has been around for a long time. It has been an argument for many, many years, and mostly it has come about from misunderstanding of the cosmologies, and probably a lot of people point to Pythagoras as the founder of the ball. Pythagoras would never have, would never teach such a ridiculous thing. It was Aristotle. The West is an Aristotle demon-worshipping, philosophical, speculative philosophical school. They've departed from our true school, which is the Neoplatonic or the Platonic or the Pythagorean, the vegetarian school. These are meat eaters. Their blood is polluted with the blood of animals, and so they reason like animals. This is speculative philosophy. Aristotle introduced the globe because he was a materialist. He wasn't a spiritualist like Plato. They parted company when Plato commenced teaching transcendental theology rather than speculative philosophy, or at least the highest philosophy that this world has ever had. And so all of this materialist globe polluted ridiculous teaching of upside down people flying around 1,000 miles an hour, hocus pocus. This is all from materialist minds. These are materialists that are polluting people to think that we live in such a stupid, ridiculous concept. How can that be? It's preposterous. It's
Well, Santos, some people have asserted, okay, the world has to be round because stand on a big mountain and look at the ocean horizon. It appears to curve, and if you see ships sail off in the distance, they appear to go downward as they're going over the horizon. How does that not confirm that the Earth is not flat?
Oh, wow. Do I really? Oh,
These are
God.
the questions. Yeah, my
I
purpose of my
know,
show is
brother.
to
Look,
point out
respect,
contradictions. Sorry.
respect for you because you're doing your job, but I find it so humiliating to have to. You can go higher than a mountain. You can go higher than a mountain and you won't see any curvature. What you will see for 360 degrees around you is a flat horizon ramping up to your eye level, and you're in a jumbo jet 45,000 above the flat Earth. And that would never happen. You could never, ever see 360 degrees around your vision, a ramped up horizon, flat, no curvature. If there was curvature, you wouldn't see it to the right of you, you wouldn't see it to the left of you, in the front of you. That shows that there is no curvature because it makes a perfect circle around you. Even if the circumference of the Earth was 2 billion freaking at the equator, the circumference, you would still see more curvature than that. And they say it's only 25,000 miles of circumference. You should see a ball sloping away everywhere. You should never see any part of the Earth ramping up to your eye level. You're in a plane, for God's sakes, 50,000 feet high, and the Earth still comes up. Man, for 1 mile, there's 8 inches of curvature. And then for every next mile squared. So it's 32 inches for every 2 miles. Where's the slope? 72 inches for 3 miles. 8,000 feet for 120 miles. So how can you see the Isle of Elba from Geneva? You're sitting in Geneva, Italy, drinking coffee, and you can see all of the Isle of Elba 120 miles, ramping up as though the ocean was lifting it up in the sky to meet you at eye level 120 miles away. You can see Corsica 100 miles away. How can that be? Where's the curvature? The ocean is flat. That's why they call it ocean sea level, not sea curve, it's level, yes. And the Earth is firm and stationary. That's why they call it terra firma. It ain't moving. It ain't moving. It's
Okay,
station.
Santos.
I
What?
just lose my patience because it's such kindergarten pseudo science. It's so funny. It's funny.
Okay, well, how about this? I recently saw the documentary Secrets in Plain Sight, and they claimed in that documentary that one of the things the Illuminati um, pays attention to and utilizes in the way it shapes things, and not just the Illuminati, but ancient cultures, like maybe even with the Great Pyramid, it is claimed that the sun is 864,000 miles in diameter, and many structures and things within the Illuminati utilize that 864,000 number in regards to the math that they construct the objects. Now, if the sun is only 3,000 miles above the surface of the flat Earth, as you claim, well, that must mean that people got it wrong when they say that the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles, and that the Illuminati and ancient society use that in their geometric layouts and their secrets in plain sight. What do you have to say about that?
The cosmology is made of processional numbers. As Pythagoras said, the universe is created by the power of number. Those are the most precious numbers in the universe. Why do I chant on a 108 Japa bead rosary, Japa bead in chanting the holy names of God? Why do the Catholics and their rosary beads have a half of that? 54, 72, 108, 144, 2160, 25920, 25,920 years, the processional cycle. They have imposed those numbers on the solar system from their materialistic thinking, but those numbers exist. It's not the diameter of the sun. Pull your sextant out. It's 32 miles in diameter. You just need to do a simple triangulation. You can do that in your backyard. You know, I mean, 93 million miles. I mean, Isaac Newton, the buffoon and demon worshipper who gave us gravity, he reckons it was 8 million miles. So if you believe him with his gravity buffoonery, well, believe him about his 8 million miles then, all of you bowlers. Oh my God. It's kindergarten. You have to go back to kindergarten to instruct little children.
Okay, but Santos, some of the things you said in your presentation seem to run counter to this. You have said that the solar system is not shaped as a flat disk. It is actually shaped like a spiraling traffic cone. I'll give you the chance to talk about what you're talking about, the actual shape of the solar system. And if the solar system is shaped like that, then it seems to kind of run counter to what the flat Earth theory would say. And also, you have said that it takes like 2 million. I think in one presentation, interesting, you said it's like 2,160,000 years for this to happen. But I think maybe in another presentation you said maybe you gave a different number because it varies the time. You said it was 2,590,000 years for the Earth, like the North Pole, to do one complete precession. It's not like a precession of equinoxes that we think of, that we often hear of. It's one where the Earth basically rolls around on itself, and that would seem counter to the flat Earth theory. So the solar system being shaped like a traffic cone, and the Earth doing a like complete revolution around itself like that, taking a little over 2 million years. How does that not contradict the flat Earth theory?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why I'm here now explaining the true model. It's geocentric, it's not heliocentric. I was using heliocentric materialist demon worship theories, whereas now I'm defaulting to true science. It's transcendental science. We've inherited it. It's in the Bible. It's in all of the, it's in Bhagavad Gita, it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's in the Puranas, it's in Brahma Samhita, it's in the Egyptian cosmology. And they had it right. And we got it wrong because we followed the demon worshipping Jesuits who funded the big four: Newton, Galileo Galilei, Kepler, and Copernicus. And they are deceivers, and they'll go down in history as such. They are deceivers. So I've turned my back on that buffoonery. I defaulted to those models because I shouldn't say I didn't know better. A lot of people do. They say, "Oh, well, I didn't know better." I did. I knew that the flat Earth was the true model and the true universe. And I can see it with my own eyes. I don't need to tell people. I don't need these ballers telling me that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and hurtling through space at 67,000 miles an hour, because that's just it's pseudoscience. It's vomitous. And so I knew better. And so what I'm doing now is I'm correcting that, and I'm asking for the heavens to forgive me, because now I'm out of demon worship and I don't follow the teachings of worldly wise demonic entities. They are controlling the world, and they control the world through all of their false teachings. Fluoride is good for you. Chemtrails are good for you. We're protecting you from sunlight, you know. Immunizations prevent all of these hocus pocus bogus diseases. And basically the people who are ballers are basically that type who go along and vaccinate their children and, you know, harm their own children through not knowing what big pharma is injecting into their own children, their progeny. So that's what I've found. I've found clearly. I mean, I've clearly a demarcation between the people who follow the truth cosmology, and it's coming back. It will gain momentum, especially with me supporting it. Now syncretism and flat earth are married at the hip once and for all time and forevermore, as it was in the past when syncretism reigned. And the divide and conquerors, the demon worshippers that have caused this up is not up and down is not down hocus pocus with their gravity, who have parted from the laws of density and buoyancy, basically to keep people following their stupidity so we can be enslaved to them. I've turned my back on that, and now I will bring back the good and the holy science properly. Now I'm more complete. I'm much more complete than I ever was. Anything that any of these ballers can throw at me, I'll cut them to shreds. They sound like morons, really.
Well, there are some people who would be really shocked to hear this, not because other people that they really trusted have told them that the Earth was round, and those people that I'm talking about specifically here this is the last thing about this subject, and then we'll switch gears, I promise you, but there are some ET contactees whose work strongly suggests that they believe the Earth is round. Two in particular, Sheldon Neidl. He has done a lot of work on and talked a lot about how the Earth is actually hollow with holes at the poles, and the inner Earth is like a fifth dimensional space, and the core is actually like a star, like a 4D, 5D star. And also Alex Collier, he has talked about in his presentations that there is actually, among other things, a second sun. There is he described it as like a red dwarf that is actually on the other side of the sun, and he claims we cannot see it. And George Kavaslis has also talked about this, how we can't see it, I think because it orbits the sun at, as they claim, the same speed that the Earth orbits the sun. And Collier even talked about in a recent Mount Shasta conference I was at that there is a red dwarf star moving through our vicinity. He says you should notice it around sunset because the sunsets will be appearing redder throughout the course of 2016 and 2017. Maybe you can bring up the astrological significance behind that if you subscribe to that. But Collier, in the diagrams he showed of this second sun, he said it's that it's on the other side of the sun, and he described the Earth as being round, and he didn't subscribe to the cone-shaped solar system thing, and you said you don't too at this point. But those ET contactees, if they're probably thinking, hearing this, they're like, well, wait a minute, my ET contactees are giving me false information because what they're telling me suggests that the Earth is round. So I understand maybe ET contact is not something you get into, but for these people that are really confused about what their ET contacts are telling them, do you have anything to maybe say to them?
Isn't it interesting that they would actually want to even why would ETs even want to mention that subject? Just think about that. Why would they, even bring it up? I'm sure ETs have got many other more important things to be talking about. It's obvious here that the ETs, ET suggests from not this terrestrial, extraterrestrial means outside of this terrestrial place that we recognize as terra firma. And the ancient cosmologies teach us where these extraterrestrials come from. They come from subterranean planets, and there are 7 of them in this vortex below our Middle Earth. This is the Middle Earth. And above us there are 7 planets. There's 7 planes below and 7 above. And the extraterrestrials come from there. They don't come from outer space. They can't. And as for the second sun, this is true. There is a second sun. It's a binary. Our solar system is a binary with another sun. And as the sun goes from the Tropic of Capricorn to the Tropic of Cancer in a corkscrew coil vortex type, looks like a teepee or a tent, and it corkscrews upward to the Tropic of Cancer and then downward, downslope to the Tropic of Capricorn. That's the vortex. That's the shape of the vortex. Above the Earth, as the sun circles clockwise above the Earth, it is making a vortex. And then it is vortexing with another partnership, another sun. This is correct. A lot of this information is correct. It's true, yes, but it's not explained properly. So these ETs, it's in their interest because they're subterranean and they control this planet. It is in their interest to continue this false lie about the planet. And they're feeding these guys misinformation. They are being misinformed deliberately on purpose so that we're not aware that there are other kingdoms below us and beyond Antarctica. There are other terra firmas. There are other more beautiful places that aren't suffering as much as we are because we've fallen asleep. We've forgotten the true laws. We've forgotten the ancient doctrines. Who reads the Vedas these days? Well, I do. I do read Bhagavad Gita. And I know these things. I know these things to be certain and correct and true and absolutely true. They would not lie. We wrote those in ancient times, in the Golden Age. We did that because we knew that there would be a cycle of darkness called the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, and we would forget all this beautiful stuff. And we would resort to the teachings of demons. Demons are entities that are self-serving. That's all they are. There's not this church idea of demons like, Satan and the devil with his little pitchfork going around making your life miserable. Well, they do make your life miserable, but demons are egregores. Some of these are self-created. We create our own demons. Some of them are created by gangs like the Freemasons, groups, because when you are in group, consensus crowd thinking, you create bigger demons. This is why when people go to the Vatican on Easter Day to hear the Pope, they're actually going to do demon worship because they're creating the egregore thought forms and emotion forms that the Vatican families have created to keep humanity in stupor. And so they, after Columbus reached the Americas, they realized that people were going to start realizing that the world was flat, absolutely, definitely. So they got Copernicus on the job to create some hocus-pocus pseudoscience. And the Jesuits did that. They were funded by the Farnese and the Borgia families, and they still are today, and they are behind this psyop. And it is doing harm to us because we believe this mechanical Aristotelian buffoonery, and so we've become a totally atheistic, disconnected from source, cause, creator, bunch of hooligans. And we've lost the true way. The true way is teaching us this about the beautiful geocentric. Geo is our mother, earth, heart. She is the heart, and she beats. The Schumann resonancy, and we beat in harmony with hers. And the sun has a heart inside it. Luigi Pierigina, Marconi's friend, the Italian genius, he studied the sun for 30 years. He said there's a heart in the sun that beats at the same rate as our sun. And therefore astrology teaches you that Leo and the sun rules Leo, and Leo represents the heart in the Adam Kadmon figure of the man that you and I are. And we are all little Adam Kadmons. We are all little Krishnas, holograms. And this supreme creator, the divine cause, root cause of all causes, is in us, and we are special. And it's not that we live, get a job, do commerce under a legal name, live on a ball, die, and then that's that. The ancient cosmologies gave us all the truth. We are eternal and immortal. Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, never was there a time when I did not live nor you, nor the rest of the world. And never will there be a time that you will not be alive. You will live forever, everlasting, in everlasting, unconditioned worlds. There are spiritual planets. There are many, many planets in the universe. They call them planets. It's fine. We live on a planet. We do live on a planet because planet means plane, a planet. It's an extension of a plane. It's a planet. And so there are material worlds and there are spiritual worlds. In the spiritual worlds, we live forever in bliss, Sat Chitananda, Vigraha. And Ishwara Paramakrishna, the prime creator and cause of all causes, is the one that grants this. And it will never not be any different. We are divine individuals, gods, if you like. And the ball removes that. It makes it mechanical. It detaches us from the cause. We've been pulled out of the electrical circuitry, like a fan that's been pulled out of the electric plug. And we're dying because of this. Look around. Look what the ball's doing to people. It's demon worship. And demons are self-serving. Why should we give them any more of our energy? I urge people, read the sacred scriptures, read the Bible, read these books. They're divine, they're special, they're transcendental science, and they teach this science that I'm teaching right now. And there's no other truth, absolute truth. This is pseudoscience, what they're teaching. They're teaching self-serving demon interests, and the world has gone after these false idols to their own detriment. Look how happy they are. They're not. They're not happy. They're miserable. Anyway, sorry, I get irritated sometimes because it's ludicrous. We're still thinking Santa Claus comes through the chimney.
Well, I get irritated too. Got to wake up the sheeple, as you've said before. But I'd like to switch gears now again. Talk about the composition of the sun and planets, and we'll get sun gazing into this too, because a couple of things I've heard you say in your presentations here. First of all, the composition of planets. I seem to recall you having said at least once in your presentations that like the outer planets like Saturn and such, they're actually like icy and all that. However, in my interview with John Lear, he talked about how we've been totally misled about the nature of the sun, and you've actually explained this too in your presentations, that the sun is like it's more like electromagnetic, but mostly electric. And the John Lear claims that every planet has its own filtering system that works in conjunction with the sun, the energy from the sun, which is basically a hotspot star. He claims that stars are hotspots on a universal web of electromagnetic consciousness energy, and the stars, in our case the sun, transmits that energy to the planets, and the planet's filtering system and their atmospheres converts it into some form that he claims allows for life. He claims that every planet could sustain life because of this filtering system, and that kind of flies in the face of what you said about how nobody could go on the other planets. And I interviewed some people like Andrew Bashago who claim that they have been on other planets. Even George Kavaslis too has.
No, I didn't say that, brother. I didn't say that.
Sorry.
Humans in these bodies cannot go to the moon and to those planets. They can go there. The planets are all full. They are replete with life. They are beaming with life. There are beings on those planets. There are beings on the sun, in the sphere of the sun. Bhagavad Gita talks about this. We have to go through the sun to go back to cause. And the moon, the rishis, they go to the moon. Astronauts can't go there because it's a luminous body. It's not as dense as the Earth. They're not terrestrial planets. So please don't misunderstand me or misquote. But those guys are correct. Yes, those stars that we see, they are beings. They are demigods. Venus is not a planet. She is a star. And she is just like our beautiful system that we have here. The sun is an electron. And magnetism, you see, electromagnetism is used as if they are one thing. They are not. Magnetism is magnetism. Electricity is electricity. The sun is electric. Hence, it is an electron. That's why he's called El, the God of the heavens. El, Bel, Baal, Emmanuel. Beautiful. All those L words. It's the sun. Electron. And what is causing the sun to go around is the magnetic core, the mountain in the middle at the North Pole. It's magnetic and blue, and it's lapis blue, and we cannot see it. But that is where the center. It's like an atom. See, in atomic theory, they describe the atom incorrectly, but it's still the atomic system is still the universal fractal system, and our sun is just a big atom. In fact, it is atom. All is atom, but it is an electron, and so it flies around and makes this vortex around magnetic mountain. And so these guys are correct. Proclus said, when you look up into the heavens, you see the cells of the brain of the mind of the Creator God. Those stars are cells. They are systems like our system. So we live in a cell. And there are 10 of these spheres surrounding the earth. This is what the firmament is. And in the firmament are the stars, and they are beings. And you can go there. Yes, because you are a star. You see? Brava means bra star, bra theos. Sister means Isis star. Youngster means young star. And that's what we are. We're young stars here as we are cultivating our qualities and turning vices into virtues. And we will go through those planets, and we will go there. Yes. And we will go beyond these heavenly planets called Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun.
Santos, going beyond there, in regards to the number of planets in our solar system, it kind of varies here. Like, we've been lied to about how many there are. I mean, you ask Zachariah Sitchin, he'd say there's 12, but no, it's not just Nibiru. There's even, and by the way, I explained in other shows how I know that Zachariah Sitchin's first 3 books are very accurate, but I'm not really going to get into that now. And also, John Lear, he said there's 40 planets actually, and Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis says that there's 66. Now, maybe John Lear and Andrew Bartzis have different definitions of a planet, but do you have any comments about that being way more than 9 planets or 12 planets?
There are countless planets in this solar system. We can't see them. They are vortexes. They are not as developed as Venus, and Saturn is the fully developed one, and so he appears to have rings. And it is an appearance. The sun has rings. They all have rings. We can't see them, but there are many of these. It's just that the 7 are the primary 7 of the colors of the rainbow, and they correspond to our Chark Ra, the sun god. And but there are many more that are subservient to these planets. Probably countless ones. 66 is just probably one of the highest orders. 9 and 12, we can take it to be 7, and then all the other numbers that you just mentioned there that the other guys told you, and then we can go down the hierarchical order and we can find more planets. It's endless. It's just endless. It's a thought wave universe. And these are cells. We are in cells. Kabbalah teaches this too, the beautiful Jewish tradition. It's magnificent. It teaches the tree, the Sephiroth tree of the 10 rings. And so Malkuth is opposite Kether. And Malkuth is this kingdom in which we live. It is the heart of the system, but it's a plane. It's absolutely 100% flat. It's not curved. And you can't see curvature. I used to think that too. I used to get on planes. Here's one thing. This is my personal experience. This proves to me that we live on a flat plane. I was flying very high in a jet from Perth to Melbourne in 2002. And I've recounted this on the Greg Carlwood show back in June of this year, and other shows. And the sun was setting behind us. It was late in the afternoon. So behind us was light and in front of us was dark. So if I had my arms outstretched, everything in front of me was pitch black. And everything behind me, for 180 degrees in front of me was darkness because the sun was not in that area. You see, the sun acts like a spotlight. Its light immediately recedes as it goes around. It's not 93 million miles away. And so this was incredible, and all the people were gasping with breathlessness at this beautiful sight. And not only that, there was a rainbow on the horizon, on the earth, for 180 degrees behind us in the light, standing up, vertically, not horizontally, vertically, perfectly erect. And those are 2-dimensional rainbows, folks. They are 2-dimensional, and you can't get that unless it's flat. And there was a rainbow totally around the whole behind us for 180 degrees. and the horizon met us at eye level, even though we were that high. That is proof. No one can debunk that. You can't get a rainbow unless that's two-dimensional. That's flat. That's a flat Earth. It was sitting on a flat Earth. If there was any curvature, rainbows don't curve. They arc.
Okay, Santos, I'd like to talk about the sun for a moment. I mentioned sun gazing. I wanted to get into it because you said in your presentations that you are a sun gazer, and I am too, by the way, and I think it's done me well. And you have said that the best time to sun gaze is the first hour of sunrise and the last hour to sunset. That's when the only time you claim you should do it, because that's when the UV index is 0. However, Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis, in his question and answer sessions during the summer, not this past summer solstice, but the one before then, he said, get some sun gazing in. You literally do look at the sun. The system tells you to go blind, but it actually bypasses the physical and goes right to the brain to, among other things, neutralize the body for the better. And Daniel Lin, who was hosting the question and answer session, said, so is there a set time when you should sun gaze? I was expecting Bartzis to say, yeah, the first hour of sunrise and the last hour of sunset when the UV index is 0. But no, he said sun gazing begins whenever you get up. Even if you get up at 2 in the afternoon, you can start doing it then. And I'm thinking, whoa, well, wait a minute. If Andrew Bartzis says it, then that means the Akashic Records say it. And if the Akashic Records say it, then it must be true. So, Santos, with that said, are you willing to come out and say, okay, I was wrong? You can sun gaze whenever the hell you want, no matter how high the sun is or what time of day it is.
Yes, yes. Well, again, this is not what I've said. I've said that for beginners, you start off with 10 seconds when the sun is on the horizon, and then add 10 seconds every day, and then build it up and build it up, and hence you can get to the point when you can solar gaze any time of the day. But to answer your question, should you solar gaze? Yes, and why? Because it speaks directly to the cells in the cerebrum and charges them, and it activates the pineal gland and alkalizes the body and the blood, especially for vegetarians. It's very important to be vegetarian. Pythagoras, Plato, these were vegetarians. Aristotle wouldn't have been, because he's he's a materialist philosopher, speculative, got no idea of transcendental theology. Otherwise, he wouldn't have parted company with Plato, because Plato did. And these guys were solar gazers. They weren't solar worshippers. You don't worship the sun. The sun is the chief symbol of Krishna's energy, Jesus' energy, or Jehovah's, or whatever. Doesn't matter what name you want to give it. I like to give it Krishna, because Krishna is one and the same with the person and the form and the body of that being, the prime causal root of all causes and the being of all beings. And so the sun is alkalizing our body, especially through the eyes. And it does this because it is electricity, electrons. We feed on electrons. This is why raw food and vegetarian, if you eat meat, you are polluting the blood. And all of those good works are minimized. And in fact, I would not... If you get hit by a bus and you're a meat eater, you'll be coming back to places like this, and probably even lower planetary systems. There's no guarantee. But because the blood is polluted with animal blood, and you cannot ascend, you must have clean human blood. Because our blood is intelligent. It is a being. It's conscious. Blood is conscious. And it's the soul that is in man. And so we must keep that clean. How dare we pollute it? It is not asking for meat. And meat eaters are being deluded. They think you're getting protein, and all. It just kills you. It is toxic. It's the sure, fast way to die and go to hell. I don't mean that literally, and yet I do, because it doesn't guarantee that you won't ascend. There's certain instances where this is overlooked, especially in there's circumstances, but generally the general rule is you must not eat meat. There are 4 pillars that must be avoided: gambling, meat eating, intoxication, and illicit sex. Illicit sex would be outside of your loved one, and so there must be purity in sexual relationships, and so um, these are the four pillars, and the blood is purified by the sun, and especially if you do solar gazing barefoot, because now you have created a beautiful circuit, and all the rubbish and free radicals being discharged from the soles of your feet. And the sun is the chief instigator of this, because he is the electron in the sky, and all those other planets basically are what, when scientists look into the atom, and all they're looking at is waves, because these are all waveforms. You see, that atomic cloud that they're looking at, that's the millions of little planets that are in there, or tens or hundreds or thousands. It depends on the atomic number. So hydrogen doesn't have any of these. Hydrogen spins. It's the fastest spinning, and it's basically 90% of the universe. It's a hydrogen universe. And it's the what's called the Proteus, I think, is the main isotope, Proteus, and that's where you get all your god names, Prometheus and things like that, and they all come from atomic. All is atom. If you see my presentations, you will see before your eyes how language is atomic. Hence, we have etymology, the science of atoms, words. Percussive instruments, tom-toms, are all atoms. Your body is an anatomy made of atoms. It's all atomic waves, you see. And these waves appear to make particles and material things, but they are still not really solid. This is Durga Maya. Durga's, the goddess, Krishna's external material potency, which creates these worlds through Brahma. And so at the top of Mount Meru sits Brahma, who is Jehovah. This creator God, this archon, is actually sitting on top of Mount Meru and turning the sun around on its axis. These are the things these are not hocus pocus mythologies. A mythos means a transcendental story which embeds higher understanding than the material level. We have materialists and demon worshippers and demons. They are actually demons. Please don't think that Hillary Clinton and George Bush and those types are humans and service to others. They are self-serving demons. Demons are controlling our politics, our institutions, and they teach their globe gravity. That's the big G inside the Freemasonic square and compass. G, gravity, hocus pocus, achoo, BS. And gravity. It's a joke. It's not even a theory. They call it a theory, unproved by Newton himself. Just said, if this, all based on presumptions, if this is this and that and that, and then this is this and that and it's that, and that's that. That's as much as he got to in the end of all his works in relation to gravity. He had no idea what it was, and it's density and buoyancy. And so this big G is gravity. It's caused us to suspend our intelligence and to become stupid. I was stupid in all of my thinking I was wise when I was using a ball model teaching the sine wave and syncretism. But all is not lost. Nothing needs to be changed. Only our perspective needs to change. We're not on a ball. It's a flat earth. And so the sine wave remains the same. The sun is producing a sine wave every year as it goes from the Tropic of Capricorn to the Tropic of Cancer. That's all we need to be concerned about. And the analemma is the figure eight that you were talking about before, which helps you to understand this. You can see clearly that the analemma, the lemniscate type figure in the sky that the sun makes yearly, is not explainable by a ball earth, even though they give you hocus pocus explanations in Wikipedia. Please don't fall for it. I've given better explanations with my whiteboard and marker. It's a vortex. I'm explaining how these torus field type cells are what we live in, and we graduate from them. They're like cocoons, and then we get our wings and we fly off and we go back to other kingdoms. And these are eternal. We can go to Vrindavan, Krishna Loka, Goloka, Svaraloka. We can go to Vaikuntha and be there and with all the gopis and all the other servants of the great prime cause as individuals forever and ever and ever, everlasting. We are arguing here and have opinions about bowls and whatever, and this is because we are our minds, have been overtaken by parasitic entities that have been indoctrinating us. Why do they indoctrinate little children in kindergarten with the globe? Why don't they see this? We've got to. Man, it's so frustrating. It's wow. No wonder the scripture where it says, "I looked up and I saw sheep without a shepherd, and my heart was broken." The world, there's beautiful people out there teaching lots of great things, but they haven't got it together because they haven't got syncretism, and they haven't got transcendental science. They've got pseudoscience. They have been indoctrinated and educated by pseudo-scientists. They haven't been illuminated by mystical transcendental scientists. And the transcendental scientists, the first thing they'll tell you is exactly about and the nature of our cosmos. Why do you think Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna modern-day movement to bring it to the West, why did he say in 1969, he said, they have not gone to the moon. They did not go to the moon. They cannot. They do not qualify. You have to qualify. Then you go to the moon. The moon is a beautiful place. We think she's evil, and she is, because the principle of evil must be played out by these planets. They are dualistic. Sun's evil, can burn you to death in a desert. It's kind, gives you wine and bread and oil through its rays. But so the good and evil that lies in them is for our betterment, so that we can go through them as we burst our chakras and ascend. We're not of the descending kind. We're not service to self. That's demonic. We are demigods. And we are going to the highest of highest, Vrindavan. And that is to be there forever as individuals. You see, all these Mayavadi gurus, they're teaching you, go to the white light, and there you will be happy and blah, blah, blah. Well, this is true, but it's not absolutely true. They don't have syncretism. They don't have transcendental science. Absolute truth tells you that you can go beyond the white light and you can be God and with God. Hence John 1:1, and the Word was God and the Word was with God. We are always with God because we are always persons and individuals with our own characteristics and our own soul, and God is God. We're not God. God is God. And you are you and I am me. And we will always have this relationship forever if we go beyond the white light, the impersonal Mayavadi effulgence and glory of Prime Creator. And there is, it's impersonal. You have no person. There you are one and the same with the Creator in his impersonal energy. And so why would you want to do that? Well, that's what some people want, and good luck to them. They other people see the white light on their deathbed and they run straight back because they know somehow that they have come from a higher place than that, which is true. Our souls were created, had a beginning, but are eternal and everlasting and will have no end. But the beginning of our souls was produced by Prime Creator above the sphere of the white light, in the Paramatma region, where souls are created, where the super soul individualizes souls so they can be individual forever. And this is the glory that they are stealing from us by giving us a necromantic, demon-worshipping cult called globalism, globalists, and gravity, this magic catchword thing that can suddenly suspend your intelligence and turn you into a buffoon. And yes, I'm upside down, stuck to the terra firma here in Australia. You're on the right side up, brother, so don't look around, don't get scared. I'm hanging on to my seat, though.
Okay,
Whoops.
but getting right side up in regards to which form of astrology we should be looking at. I'd like to talk about this for a moment. I've started looking at. I used to be the kind of guy that never really did astrological readings. I prefer to just go with the flow in life and let the stars guide me. As long as I live life to the fullest, I can't go wrong. But in recent times, I've started to like listen to different astrologers on a yearly and a monthly level. I listen to tropical astrology, but just to keep it kind of impartial, I do listen to sidereal astrology when it comes to weekly astrological forecasts. And I can imagine you might have a problem with that because I do seem to recall you saying that you do not agree with sidereal astrology, and you claim that you've talked in your presentations about how it's not really the way to go. But I did have Athan Chimenti of Mastering the Zodiac on my show. And just to take this something from his website, and by the way, this is going to be a do you agree or disagree kind of question kind of thing here. He writes, sidereal astrology has not yet received widespread popularity in the Western world. It has, however, always been used by Vedic astrologers in India and is the form of astrology which was also practiced by other ancient cultures such as the Egyptians, Persians, and Mayans. We feel this is the most accurate form of astrology because it is grounded in what you can actually see taking place in the sky. For example, while tropical astrology might say that someone's sun sign is in Leo, if you looked to the sky at the time of their birth, you would see that the sun was in fact in the constellation Cancer. We believe in maintaining the link between ourselves and the natural world by viewing the stars as they truly are. And for the record, I'm a Pisces in tropical astrology, but I'm an Aries in tropical astrology, but a Pisces in sidereal astrology. Well, now that I've told you what Athen thinks about sidereal astrology, I don't mean to create a conflict between you guys, but I got to ask you, do you agree or disagree with his take on this?
Yeah, there's no conflict unless you want the conflict. I don't necessarily say that I disagree with sidereal astrology, but tropical astrology, which is what we teach in the West based on the tropics, is what I teach. I don't teach sidereal astrology, and I know they have certain accuracy, but tropical astrology penetrates all the forms of astrology 100% accurate because it is the mother and the foundation of all astrology. Sidereal astrology must bow down to tropical astrology simply because the constellation signs are on the ecliptic. You see, the siderealists take them to be in the dome of the eighth sphere of the firmament, and they are, and definitely Aries is, and they're all there, all in line, all in the celestial equator along the zodiac signs, but they're out of sync with the tropical constellations, which are on the ecliptic. So March 21st comes, that's Aries. That will always be Aries. And I was born on March the 21st. I have Aryan features. I don't have Piscean features according to the Vedics. Why? Because the Vedic astrology does not penetrate to the earth element to influence bodies. Tropical does. Vedic is more a psychic, emotional, mental, ethereal astrology. It does not penetrate the physical. Why? Because, and you can tell, I've done presentations on this and proved it. In fact, a good astrologer friend of mine, William Schreib, has a book called Dance of the Zodiac, in which he gives you pictures in tropical system of many famous people that we know, Hollywood actors, etc., politicians, and he shows the features and teaches you the features and teaches you how to discern the zodiac features tropically, and they are in sync. I've seen many people say to me that they are a Piscean, and I can see that they're not in the tropical system. They have Aryan features. Their facial features are out of sync. They're not in sync. But I'm not saying that they're wrong. You see, this is where people limit what I'm saying and then just run off, and you give them an inch, they take a mile, and they expand it in the erroneous way. What I'm saying is that Vedic astrology has its accuracy for many psychic things. I would not trust Vedic astrology, or rather sidereal astrology, because it's not really Vedic. It's Jyotish. They call it Jyotish, which means the science of light. Go figure. Which astrology means the word of God, light, the word of God, astrologos, the word of light, the science of light. Um, what I'm saying is that medical astrology, I've done many, many charts for people with the tropical system, and you're going to want to know the tropical system for your physical traits and your medical. And if that's all you're going to use it for, well and good, because you won't get that out of Jyotish, because it's sidereal, and those stars are out of sync. And this is the rift in our nature. You see, we are bipolar, all of us are to an extent. All right. So, and we have a rift. There is a splitting of the soul, and half of the soul goes sidereally and the other half goes tropically. But the tropical half reaches and penetrates the most deepest part of astrology, influences the medical. You're going to want to know tropical if you're going to have brain surgery, because if your doctor's going to operate you while the moon is in Aries, which rules the cerebrum, the brain, for those 3 days, 72 hours, there you go. No, 60 hours. The moon is in a astrological sign for 60 hours. Fancy that, 60 minutes, 60 hours, the moon in a sign. So if you're going, you're booked an appointment, you've got a tumor in your brain, you're going to bleed to death. If you think that if you go in and on the sidereal on the sidereal system, because the moon is the bleeder. And if you're going to have heart surgery when the moon is in Leo for 60 hours, that doctor is going to kill you without even knowing. This is why Hippocrates said in his oath, which has been eliminated, by the way, if a medic calls himself a doctor and knows nothing about astrology, he cannot qualify to be a medic. What about all these doctors in hospitals, and they're operating in the heart and the brain? They don't know where the moon is, do they? And they certainly would not want to know where it is in the sidereal system, because it's out of whack. It's the tropical system penetrates the deepest, and you can see it clearly. Just get yourself the book. It's only $20. It's called Dance of the Zodiac by William Schreiber. Astrovisions.com. All of those words, if you punch them in, get yourself that book. You can even get it, I think, digitally, and test this for yourself. I've proven it in all my presentations. You can only tell someone's sign by their physical traits tropically. If you try it in the Vedic system, you'll fail. You'll fail. You see...
Yep. Thanks, Sam. You want to say something else? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, brother. I just want to finish by I've already said this, but I want to say it again. Andrew, I'm sorry. I'm a bit of a nuisance. I'm talking like I'm frustrated and annoyed, but I'm not. I'm trying to be emphatic, because materialists are teaching pseudoscience and half-truths. You see? Neither the tropical nor the sidereal system are wrong, and yet you've got these astrologers. This is why the Bible condemns astrologers. It does not condemn astrology. It's a book based on astrology. It condemns astrologers, just as Jesus condemns lawyers, not law, for I came to fulfill the law. But lawyers are different to law, as astrologers are different to astrology. And they're teaching half-truths. And you see, I get disgusted when I see on Vedic sidereal websites, but in the tropical system, which is wrong, no. The tropical system is 100% accurate, whereas the Vedic is not. It is accurate, but not on all the types. They have different predictive type astrology. Their system is unique and wonderful. But the Arabs and the Egyptians and all the Western astrologers, they did not subscribe to it, because they knew by their observation, by their eye, just as an intelligent person will see by their eye, that we live on a flat earth.
Thank you, Santos. And let's do a quick, if you want to, 13 minutes is how much time we have left on the show, by the way. If you want to go a little past that, that's fine. If you want to finish a thought or something, it's a pre-record, so it's not really a problem with live feed or anything. But just for the sake of all the listeners who have lousy attention spans, let's maybe not make it too far past 2 hours. But in regards to the upcoming future, it's very fitting. I'm going to discuss this now because I remember about 2.5 years ago when you appeared on an episode of In 5D Radio hosted by Greg Prescott, and Greg Prescott has actually said on at least one occasion he thinks you are an ascended master in human form. I hope you take that as a compliment. I didn't say that; he did, and he interviewed you, and he we talked about I think how the age of Aquarius is coming, and maybe I'm mistaken. Sorry if I'm saying the wrong thing here, but um, you, I believe, said that the whole thing about the age of Aquarius starting in like 2160, as like the Zeitgeist movement has talked about. You said no, 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 no. They're kind of confused the issue. What you really should be thinking of is the year 2016, and we're right on the verge of that. So I guess it's only fitting now that I ask you: are you still sticking to what you said 2.5 years ago in that interview? And what do you see in the upcoming future for 2016? Because some people have said things like it's going to be a tough year. We may even have like an economic collapse. And I actually am a little, can't help but be a little concerned because I heard, I don't know how much you research the Chinese zodiac, but I am a tiger, and 2016 in the Chinese calendar is the year of the monkey, and tigers and monkeys don't mix. So this year might be a little bit of a rough ride for me. If you want to say anything about the Chinese calendar, what you know about it, by all means do. The Chinese zodiac, but specifically 2016 and what you think is going to happen. And by the way, I should point out Franco De Nicola in my interview with him and some other people have talked about how 2017 will be when 5D consciousness is on the earth at a massive level. So the near future, what do you got to say?
Yeah. Okay. And thank you to Greg Prescott for saying that. It's very, very kind, and I'm just honoured and humbled to hear that. And I don't. Please understand, I don't, feel any more special than the best of the best of all of us. We are all of this greatness, and so I just love greatness. I love greatness in other people. There's so many great people. We are great and divine, and so that is nice, and we should be saying that about all of our brothers. Unfortunately, we can't because they're sleeping. But once they get out of this demonic teachings and get back to the true cosmology, go back to the Vedas, that'll teach you, then we will all realize that we're all ascended and wonderful beings of divine light and headed for immortality and everlasting, unconditioned, unlimited, unqualified bliss. And so I'll have to correct you. Yes, I did correct the figure of 2,160 as a processional month, a Platonic month. See, in the sidereal system, a sign precesses and it takes 2,160 years, 216. Again, a processional number. It rules the universe. And I corrected it to 2016. It's not in reference to 2016 at all. It's in reference to the number 2016. So instead of 2160, it's 2016. But always in that order. It's always 216. Why? Well, because Uranus is the timekeeper of the solar system, not Saturn, Kronos, old man Satan, the god of this world. Kronos, chronology, tempo, temple, time, all those come from Saturn, who has a 30-year orbit, and all astrologers default to him as the timekeeper. He's Mr. Kronos, chronology. But his father, the invisible planet, ruler of the eighth sphere, the firmament, the dome, the vault of the heavens, in which all the stars live, he is Uranus. His orbit is 84 years. So 24 revolutions of 84 come to 2016. Half of that, 12 revolutions, is 108. Remember 108, the Japa beads of the Hare Krishnas? 72, the average heartbeat of man, average room temperature, blah, 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 etc., etc. These numbers are everywhere. And so Uranus is the granddaddy of timekeeping. 84 is the average age of a good, healthy individual. 84 is the number of Uranus's orbits, so-called. And 12 of those are 1,008, and this is where Scripture says that a day in God's 1,000 years in God's eyes are as a day, and vice versa. I mean, this is the great timekeeper is Uranus. So if we take the ruler of Pisces, Pisces would have started in 4 BCE. How do we know? Because we go to Scripture, and Scripture says Jesus was born when before Herod died, which is 4 BCE. Simple. And so if you add 2016 years, it brings you right to where it should, 2012. And of course, the 21st of December 2012, when the big shift occurred and when everything changed. Everything. It all changed. And that age was the age of Pisces. The ruler thereof was Jupiter, Jesus, Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces. And now Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. That's why you see the hex, the Star of David logo everywhere, because they are ushering in a new age. They're not necessarily doing it deliberately, and they're not new. You know, there's so much fear about the new age. Well, Pisces was the new age. Aries before that was the new age. We have to adapt to the cosmology. Now we don't have any fish. There's no more need to be baptized in water, mutable waters of Pisces. Now we are being baptized by the spirit of air, the mind element of Aquarius, fixed air. And so now we are, as John the Baptist said, I baptize in water, but the one coming will baptize in air. He called it spirit, or spirit and fire. And this is the mystical fire. So mist, M-I-S-T, is the water that you get baptized when you're still in your ignorant state going to church. And mist, M-Y-S-T, is the fire, the baptism of fire that you get when you go from empirical philosopher to transcendental scientists, a yogi, a mystic. That's misty is fire, M-Y-S-T. And so this is where salvation occurs, in this baptism of air and fire. And Aquarius is the element that enables this. And we are now all being baptized. Hence Joel, when he says that I shall pour out my spirit in the last days, and my prophets will dream dreams and visions, and the virgins will prophesy, blah, 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 etc., etc. Well, this is what's happening. This is why you are now having this conversation with me. You wouldn't contemplate this type of subject 10 years ago, you see? And the more we grow our consciousness, the more we will realize the cosmos that we live in. We live in these toroidal fields, these cells, and concentric cells, 10 times bigger than the one it encases, like the Russian dolls, only 10 times bigger, each cell, each layer. And here we are in the center. It's geocentric, and the Earth is the center of it, and it is a plane. And it probably goes out for millions of miles, probably thousands, probably hundreds of miles. But there are other lands beyond the Antarctica. And so when you expand your consciousness will go to those other lands. It won't stay on the ball, confined, materialist. Oh, we live and then we die, and then we go nowhere. We can't have everlasting music and dance and frivolity and happiness and bliss forever with Krishna and the gods and the gopis and the angels. No, we get to die. The ball, look, it's the Jesuits and the Kabbalistic, I shouldn't say Kabbalistic, let me take that back, the Khazarian Hyksos gangs. You see, people point over there. Oh, it's the Jesuits, and then it's the Vatican, it's the Bilderbergers, the Trilateralists, the Council on Foreign Relations. It's the banksters. No, the naughty ones are the, and so they're looking everywhere for the naughty ones. It's not about that. These clubs, these gangs, are full of demons. They're self-serving. They're psychopaths. They rape little children. They have sacrifices where they drink their blood, because this is where they think that they get power. They get power from drinking the blood of other human beings, because they're actually absorbing the soul of that being. They're absorbing the energy, the life force. And so materially, yes, they are prolonging their lives. Hence Queen Elizabeth's, nearly 100 years old, and her reptilian partner. They're kicking around. Look at, these demons called who's that real criminal one? The one that started the war in Indonesia, in Chile, Argentina. Who's that killer? What's his name?
I'm drawing a blank too. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, these guys. Rest assured, they're materialists and they're demons and they drink blood and they're killers. And this is where we have to point. We have to expose the demons, this demon infestation on this planet. Not the Bilderbergers in Rome and the Jews and the Bilderbergers and all of these. Yes, those gangs have been taken over by demons, the Freemasons. Freemasonry was pure once. Christianity was pure. They were all sciences. They're languages. Astrology is a language. Some people say, oh, this demonic astrology, blah, 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 blah. Well, how can it be? Is Italian demonic? Is Japanese demonic? Last time I checked, they were languages. Last time I checked, so was astrology. So was tarot reading. You see, there's too many half-truthers. They don't have the complete picture. They don't have syncretism. They've missed the boat. They couldn't see it for looking.
Well, since you mentioned that, can I interrupt you for just a moment? Sorry, I have to go back to this subject, but one thing really occurred to me, and it's like my angels and guides were asking you to ask, telling me to ask you this right now. One other thing about the flat Earth, one person that would be really shocked to hear about what you're saying here, Richard Hoagland, with all the stuff he talks about torsion field physics and 19.5 latitude being a hot spot because that's like where the pyramid is, that's where the great red spot on Jupiter is. Then all his pictures of Mars, and you saying like Mars is different, he'd be like, wait a minute, well, what's with all these pictures I've taken that show the Cydonia region on Mars? So if Richard Hoagland is listening to this, what do you have to say to him about what he says?
Well, where did he get his so-called quote-unquote pictures from? NASA. He didn't take those pictures. They're lying. Like the extraterrestrials are lying about the globe because it's in their interest, because they control the globe through their demon worship. And so Richard Hoagland's been deceived. I was deceived. I was deceived. We default. He's using CGI images from NASA. Mars is not terrestrial. Men cannot go there in these bodies, nor can their vessels. There's no there's no space travel. You space travel when you leave this body. You can do that and teleport, but you can't do that in these bodies. It's impossible. It's ridiculous. You can go with your spiritual vehicle. You do have a spiritual form, a spiritual soul. You are a spiritual being. You can detach that from your body and go off and astral travel. You can do whatever you want, but we've lost the ability. We've lost this, and that's because of the trust me, it's the globe and gravity that's doing it to us, and the meat-eating religion, because they know that people are going to keep reincarnating and being bounced off the moon, and souls are going to have to come here and reincarnate again to be slaves for the military-industrial complex, which the demons control. They control all this. We don't need to be under their influence. We need to point to them and expose them, not the Bilderbergers and everything like that. And the other thing about our lovely brother Richard Hoagland is that, like everyone else, they're telling truths, but half truths. These pictures that are given to him, they're manufactured, and some of them are real, and some of them are not. But they're not. There's people that get abducted and taken to Mars and what have you. They're taken to subterranean planets made to look like Mars and the Moon and all of this buffoonery. These people are very powerful. Our governments are in cahoots with them, controlling us as part of the pact to keep these demon worshipping going on the earth. Because once we get rid of demon worship and point our finger to them, we'll have peace here. Islamists will be loving brothers of Christians, and Jews will love Hindus, and we will love these languages rather than have fear of them. There's nothing to fear in Kabbalah and Tarot and Hinduism and the Vedas. These are what I teach. They are all syncretized with the ecliptic and with the sine wave. And the other thing is that I want to clarify, which I didn't get a chance to, is magnetism and electricity. Magnetism is the root of electricity. Yes, you can say electromagnetism, but it's like saying the man in the car. You're driving down the one is a driver, one is the driven. Magnetism drives, and electricity is the driven. So one is the prime creator, the other is the creator. Electricity creates material forms, and those forms reside and abide in magnetic conscious power. Magnetism's conscious. Electricity is semi-conscious. Don't mess with electricity, and there is only electromagnetism in the universe. There's no gravity. It's buffoonery. There's only one force in the universe, that's electricity. Thank you, Walter Russell. And he taught us that electricity is centered and stilled by magnetism. Magnetism is infinitely more powerful than electricity. It is the powerhouse of the universe, and all universes reside in it, and all potentials. It is motion in suspension, whereas electricity is motion in action. And that action is you and I speaking right now. Hence, my voice is vibrating the molecules in the air so you can hear me. And you get to know the tone of my vocal cords, and the tone of my passion, and the tone of the kind of intelligence with which I speak. For we all have intelligence. It's just that, a lot of us are very smart, but believing in the ball really, really pollutes the intelligence. We should honor our intelligence and think for ourselves and think things through.
Well, Santos, I'd like to ask you to help me think something through. By the way, this subject and another subject is all I'd like to do, and then I guess we might as well call it a show. But he's talking about how gravity is a bunch of buffoonery. Well, a couple of people would say, well, there is such a thing as gravity. It's just been so overrated. And what am I talking about? Well, here's a couple dots I'd like to try to connect, and maybe you can help me make sense of this, because I recently watched your physics presentation, one of your physics presentations. And first of all, Indigo Child Matías de Stefano from Argentina, he has said that time, what we consider time, is basically, you can think of it as having a direct correlation with the decay of matter. The reason we age and the reason matter decays is because, as he claims, there's such a thing as time. What does this have to do with gravity? Well, my Andromeda Council contactee Tolek, he's talked about how his Andromeda Council contacts have told him there is a direct correlation between gravity and time. And even mainstream scientists could tell you that when they talk about how clocks tick faster or slower depending on how far they are from the surface of the Earth. Now, Alex Collier, back in presentations he did in the early 90s, he talked about how his ET contacts have told him there is such a thing as gravity, and it has something to do with the radiation from a star. Now, you have talked about how in your physics presentation, I heard you mention radiation from a star being like responsible for forces, and you even said radiation, I believe you said, is like positive electricity in a sense, and gravity is either a negative positive form or something. Now, I'm trying to connect all the dots here because I'm hearing all this and I'm thinking, okay, well, if you try to connect all this, you would think that radiation from a star would have something to do with the decay of matter because, well, gravity comes from like radiation from a star, something to do with it. Time and gravity are correlated. So, but then this raises a whole can of worms as to whether or not radiation from a star is harmful and gets into sun gazing and all. Like, well, I thought we discussed looking at the sun isn't harmful, and also sunbathing is not harmful like we're told it is. It's but then again, you hear what all these people said, and you try to connect the dots, and you're like, okay, radiation from a star is harmful. So can you maybe help me connect the dots here and maybe make sense of what gravity is in relation to time and radiation from a star?
Yeah, time is, of course, chronos, chronology, time, Timmy, Tommy, atom. All is atom. All is atomic. So all is time. In this time world, ruled by time. And backwards for time is emit. This emitting of time is what gives us the illusion of gravity, but it's the dance of magnetism with electricity and its visual effects. And so what you're actually witnessing is the power of magnetism. And this is why they called it magnetism, because it's magic. It's the same root. It's the magus. It is God's internal pleasure potency, whereas electricity is God's external creating material energy. And not necessarily material energy. It's more than that. It reaches matter. It reaches the material world, but it is also spiritual. But it is a lesser. It's a lesser force than magnetism. And so, but this is this centering force of magnetism is what's causing, all the confusion, because waves come out of that centering. All wave fields are centered by magnetism. And it is so powerful. It is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. It is the center of solar systems like ours. It is the center of your heart. It is the center of all the atoms in your body, in your anatomy. And it is actually, that's why percussive instruments are all tom-toms, drum. They've all got that word tom in them, you know. Dumbek, djembe, darabuka, timpani, timbali, tambourines. It's all tam, tom, tim. It's noise and sound and time, the emitting of time. And so time is in this dimension, in this universe we live, we have past, present, and future. Whereas in Vrindavan, Krishna Loka, time is spiritual, it's not material, and therefore it is the ever-present. It's always present there, and there's no such thing as the past and the future. But here, in the material world, where all the materialists love their material wisdom, and this is why the scriptures in Corinthians it says, the wisdom of God is the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God, because it's material, and it's based on the senses, as Walter Russell puts it. It's empirical. It's based on observations and experiment and everything. But you can have direct knowledge. You can have transcendental akashic knowledge. And for goodness sakes, we have the ability to do that as long as we haven't drank too much fluoride and had too many vaccinations or whatever, because those are polluting the blood. They're designed to pollute the blood. And if you don't keep your blood clean, watch out. If you're drinking Pepsis and Coca-Colas and all this cooked chocolate, you can eat raw chocolate. It's all good. Raw food is electron food. So pump your body with electrons. Don't eat protein. There's no such. These are all buffoonery. This is all materialist to even naturopaths. They're materialists. They've got no idea. We live on electrons. So you can drink green juices, cold-pressed juices. Green is the color to drink and to eat. Pump your body with green. You'll pump it with salts and chlorophyll and good water and oils. And those are the 4 essential things for good health. They'll tell you that you've got to have protein and carbohydrates and meat and good poultry. They will kill you. They will not help you at all. Not at all. The electrons you require is in green food, celery, cabbage, and so all of this pseudoscience is designed to keep us sick and in debt, and all that birth certificate legal name is to keep us enslaved and to not know who we are. So knowing where our destiny is, Vrindavan, we can reach out for Vrindavan, but we have to serve. You can't be self-service mode. That's demonic. You have to be a demigod. And I'm sure you do. I'm sure I do. And I'm sure the listeners do. And I mean, I don't care how much they had a laugh and thought that, whatever I said was wrong. It's all transcendental. I've done my homework. I'm not doing pseudo. I'm doing transcendental.
No doubt you have, Santos. And one final subject, by the way, I just want to point out, I think it's the same time in your hemisphere. It's 11:11 now. They always say whenever it's 11:11, you might want to try making a wish because they're more likely to come true around 11:11. I just thought I'd point that out. But one more subject before I guess we'll call it a show. I mentioned the Chinese calendar earlier because, well, I'm a little concerned because I'm a tiger. It's going to be the year of the monkey, and tigers and monkeys don't mix. So 2016 will maybe be a transition, rough year of sorts for people, but for me it'll be kind of rough simply because I'm a tiger. Do you have anything to say about the Chinese zodiac? If you have, now's your chance, and then we'll end the show when you're finished with this.
Yeah, I've syncretized the Chinese system as much as I can with sidereal and tropical as much as I can. The monkey corresponds to Aquarius, and opposite the tiger is Leo. Leo and yes, they are opposed, but they are compatible. But it also, in the Chinese system, it depends on whether it's going to be is it a wood monkey? I think it's a wood monkey, is it?
I
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Sorry.
yep. Anyway, it depends on what element. So because every 12 years it changes elements. So yes, it is incompatible because it's changed its element, but essentially it hasn't. The monkey is the friend of the tiger, opposite in compatibility. I know that doesn't seem, it looks like, the tiger's going to ravage the monkey and just eat it and destroy it. But and so would the lion attack a man, but normally in their untraumatized state they don't. Lions and tigers do not attack human beings. They've been traumatized too, and because of the demonic infestation on this planet, and they also are, also being produced from cause to be savage. And but that will change soon. So to syncretize the Chinese calendar is very easy. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with my designations, but the dog is Aries, and that corresponds because where the lamb is the wolf, and the wolf is the dog. So you start with the dog in Chinese, where you start everywhere in Aries. Aries begins all cycles, begins all things, the Lamb of God. And that's the dog. And then the pig is Taurus, they are compatible animals. Then the rat is Gemini, that's a compatible sign. The cow will then be Cancer, that's compatible with the moon. Cow jumped over the moon. I can give tens and tens and tens of analogies and compatibilities, but I'm just doing this quickly for the intelligent ones to grasp what I'm saying. The tiger is Leo. Well, that's the feline. That matches perfectly. Can't argue with that one. The rabbit, which is me, 1963, is Virgo, the hermit, the rabbit. See, the rabbit is known to be prolific in reproducing, but the virgin is barren. She hasn't reproduced. She's a virgin, Virgo. So you see, they harmonize. The dragon is the dragon of Libra. That's where Draconis's tail is. The dragon. The serpent is Scorpio. Yes, because the serpent is there. It's one of the Scorpio's signs. The horse is Sagittarius, perfectly compatible, and the lamb is the goat of Capricorn. The Chinese lamb is the goat, and there you go. That's syncretized. Now, I've met Chinese people that jump up and down and say, no, you've done it opposite. The dragon should be in Aries and the dog should be in Libra, and you do it that way. But I don't agree, and I hope I'm not wrong one day.
Well, if you ever have to acknowledge that you're wrong, but acknowledging that you are wrong allows for a whole new revelation, a whole new can of worms to arise, especially when it's something that the powers that be don't want us to know, then acknowledging you're wrong for the sake of exposing that would definitely be a sacrifice worth making. And, I don't know. Some people might differ, saying anytime you acknowledge that you're wrong, it discredits you. But hey, if you give the powers that be some ammunition to fight you with, that's okay, because it will only bring them out in the open when they try to expose you. So, Santos, this was a brilliant interview. Glad you could come on. I didn't want to have to make you pay any money for Skype credits, so I'm glad you're able to pre-record and all that. I'll make sure I upload this. It was recorded, so I'll convert it into a form that can be uploaded to YouTube, and I'll try to get on before the end of the weekend, and Blog Talk Radio as well. We'll archive it as well. So this was a fascinating interview indeed, and you are a fascinating individual, Santos. And hey, if you ever want to come on a radio show to discuss something because you discovered something new or you want to talk about it, by all means, give me a buzz. I personally am on a mission of sorts to try to get as many different people on my show as possible before I give any one specific guest double dips. And as such, all my previous guests that I've had on the show, I've never actually contacted them again and asked them to come on because I always want to try getting different people on. That might change if I ever host another show or do a roundtable discussion, but I don't really know if I'll be contacting you again because you have to understand, Santos, there's thousands of other fascinating individuals out there that I have to get on my show. It's a shame, too, because I could definitely do another show with you because of all the work you've done. I've watched all your presentations, and frankly, I think I should watch them all a second time because just watching them once isn't going to help people, isn't going to help everyone learn everything. It's one of those things you got to watch more than once. But Santos, keep up the good work. Good luck, and hopefully they will not come after you again. And if they do, I wish you the best of luck so you don't have to go through all the detox and all that stuff that you've been going through from having to being locked in a cage and all that. So good luck,
Yeah,
Santos.
thanks, Andrew.
All right, good
Thanks
luck,
very much, brother.
and love having you on. Take care, Santos.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.